Okay, in today's lesson, we're going to be talking about functions. Now, functions are little blocks of code that do something for you. They're like little action bits. The reason we use functions is because it's a great way to organize our code because each function does a very specific thing. Because today we're going to be, and a good example of this is today we're going to create an account. We're going to have a create account system. Now, whenever you create an account, they usually check your username and password to make sure it meets some minimum requirements. Like they don't want usernames being 1 and passwords being 1, right? They want you to have like a username of a certain length and a password that meets some requirements. So instead of writing a whole chunk of code here that never ends just to to check both of these, we're gonna just have functions do each little bit of this, and it'll make our lives a little bit easier. All right. So what we're gonna do is start by let's just get into it. So first of all, I want to say this. I referenced the button already, and I added the event listener, and you'll see here I referenced the two inputs already. Now, just to start us off with something easier, I just want to make sure that we are getting the values out of these two inputs first. And you'll notice here I'd input dot value. I'm going to have a function that gets the values out, just to get us started with something easy, okay? So what I'm going to do is start by creating a function here, and I'll say function, and that's how I create it, and I got to give it a name. And we'll just call this one get value, and this will get the value of a string. We put parentheses and we put curly braces. Now what goes in parentheses here is we call these the parameters, and that's what we're going to put into the function. Now imagine there's a conveyor belt, right, at a factory that puts wrappers on candies, right? What that does is probably intakes a wrapper and a candy and then produces a wrap candy, right? So usually functions will take things in and do something with those and then spit something out. All right, so just like that, we're going to take in a input, right? And then we're going to do something to it. So what we're going to do, and by the way, you can call this anything. I could call this mom. But what we're saying is we're going to put one thing in. So I'm going to take an input in. So what I'm going to say is this. I'm going to say let value equal input.value. So we extract the value from that input, and then I'm going to return the value. All right? And just to make sure I'm doing this right, let's also console.log the value to make sure that this is right. So we got a whole chunk of code. We're checking the value, and then we're returning to the user. So let's see if we can do this first. So we're going to create a variable. We'll say this let username. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to say get value. We're going to run this function. We're calling the function, and the input that we're putting in is the username input. So this should get us the username. All right, so if you think about how this is working, is I'm creating a variable, and what I'm doing is calling this function called getValue. It's going to put in the user input, it's going to get the value, and return it over here. All right, so let's give this a shot, and let's put in your mom. I check it, and sure enough, your mom console logs, and that should be what's stored in username. Now let's do let password equal get password, get value. We're going to put in the password input. Okay, let's give this a shot. So let's see here. I'm going to say your mom, 1, 2, 3, 4, create account. See, those are both logged, and that means they're both stored inside a username and password. Those values have been returned there. Great. Now that we've got the username and password values, let's move on to the next one. We've got to check the length of both of these. All right, let's make sure that they are both over 10, the username and the password. Instead of making two functions, one for the username, one for the password, let's just make one function that just checks the length of any string, right? And these are where functions get easier because instead of having to do something twice, I can just do it really one time. So let's do a function called check length. And what that's going to do is it's going to take in two things. It's going to take in a string, all right, and let's just say this. We'll check how long. We'll call this the length. All right. How long do we want the string to be? So it's going to take in two arguments. All right. So here's how it's going to work. First, we're going to say this. Let string length equal str.length. Now you might remember .length is a string method that gets the length of it. And then let's just console.log string length. We're going to keep this a little easy right now. All right. Not doing anything too special with it. And so I'm going to say let string length let username length, let's get the username length equal, and let's call the function check length. All right, and I'm going to put in 2 arguments here, the string and how long I want it to be. So let's say the string is going to be the username, and it can only be 10 characters. All right, so let's just see if this works first and foremost. Let's put in the username, so your mom, and what it should say is 7. Perfect. All right, now that I know the length of it, let's just we're going to return if it is or is not greater than 10. So we're doing a check here, right? We've got to check, is it greater than 10 or not? So we'll say this: if string length is greater than or equal to length, which is the number that we've, okay, then we will return true. If it's not, we will return false. All right, so those are our 2 returns. It's either true or false. All right, so let's give this a shot now. All right, we'll try your mom. Let's see if this, oh right, we didn't console log. So here's what I could do. Console.log username length. Let's give this a shot. Let's see. Your mom. And you see it's false because that's only 7 letters. It needs to be 10 or more. So let's say I did your mom 1, 2, 3. That's 10 letters. And notice now it's true. All right, so I checked it. It looks good. It passes my test. Let's get my password now. So we'll say password length equals check length. This also has to be 10. Okay, and then it's console.log password length. Okay, let's give it a shot. So your mom 1, 2, 3, password 1, 2, 3, 4. You see it's true and false, like, right? This is 10 or more, this is not. If I did 5, 6, and then a whole bunch of stuff, I get true and true because they both passed the test now. So my check length function is working perfectly. It's telling me if things are good or not. Now what I could do now is something like this. If username length equals true and password length equals true, then we're going to tell the user that their account's created. So I actually have a place here for a message. So I'll say let message text equal document.query selector. Okay, we're going to reference that message text. And then I'll say message text dot inner HTML equals account created, right? And then I could do an else statement here that says here username and password or password do not meet requirements. All right, so let's give this a shot. Let's see if this works now. Come back here. All right, your mom 1, 2, 3, and let's do a password that's too short. We'll press create account. Oh, it's saying HTML. Oh, because I did that wrong. Oops, don't be mad at me. Okay, your mom 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, username and password do not meet requirements. Damn. What if I did, once again, a little bit more, and you'll say account created because both of these are true. Great. Now, there's some more functions here to make. I'll do one more with you guys, but you guys hopefully are getting the point. Let's make a function that checks to see if it has an exclamation point. So we'll say function check character. Well, exclaim. Okay, and I'll take in a string. All right. So then what we'll say is like let has exclaim equal str.includes, and we'll put this. So that should routine this. All right. And that returns true or false. So let's do exclaim, and this console.log has exclaim, and then we'll return the value. Okay. So now here we're going to say it. Let has let's say password exclaim equals check exclaim. We'll put the password in, and let's see if this works. Okay, so we'll say once again your mom 1 2 3 4, and then we'll say hello y'all exclamation points. And you'll see I got another true here because this new true on line 53, that's because it has exclamation points. If I took out the exclamation points, you'll see it says false on line 53 because that on line 53 is the line that checks to see if it had included that. So now I could add this to here. I'll say this and password exclaim because we want that to be true before we make an account. Exclaim. And if we got all of those, now we should be good to go. All right. Now, these last two I'll leave for you to do on your own, but that is basically how you do your functions. Generally, remember, they have a name, they have parameters, they return something, and then you got to call them. All right, that's it for this video. Good luck.